Minutes here before we get started. As you guys are joining, we're just going to give it a couple more minutes just to allow people to log in, and then we'll get started here in just a moment. We still got some people joining, so one more minute here, and we'll kick this thing off. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining us today for our webinar Wednesday. Today we're joined with the NComputing guys here that they're going to give us an overview of their endpoint solutions. But before we get started, I do want to point out that we are giving away a 2022 Hunter Green Ford Bronco. I believe that's set to be given away in May to one lucky person. Make sure you visit the site, XenTegra.com/Bronco giveaway. You can go there, you can find details about the giveaway, register to win this. We have it sitting in our warehouse right now, so it's ready to go. Make sure you go visit the site, register, because you got to be in the drawing to win it, right? So as they say, you got to be in it to win it. Richard, go ahead and go to the next slide. And for those of you that are not familiar with XenTegra, I just want to quickly introduce who we are. We are a national reseller. We invest heavily in our partnerships with the end user community. We provide expert services and carefully selected products, right, and solutions that we can provide to our customers. We also provide customer enablement through events, workshops, and webinars such as this one. So wherever you guys are on your digital transformation journey, we can help you along your path to being successful. Go ahead to that. There you go. This is Andy Whiteside. He's our founder and CEO. Andy founded XenTegra on the principle of serving that end user community or the end user community, which we continue to do today. He was a Citrix sales engineer, saw a void in the end user community from a partnership level with, other partners at the time wanting to be brought in just to close deals. And he left Citrix to start XenTegra, and that's kind of what we've been doing ever since, right? Is being there to help the end user community. With that, we are a value-added reseller. We provide consulting services. That's regardless of our client size, right? No matter how big or how small. And those can be things like project-related, scheduled engagement contracts. We offer assessments, managed services, hosting, no matter how big or how small. Like I mentioned, we also provide the managed services to help support and manage your digital workspace environment. And the last thing to kind of point out, these complimentary assessments. If you haven't taken advantage of one of our complimentary assessments, I highly encourage you do so. These assessments are provided at no cost, typically engaged for about up to 4 hours. And if you guys have ever engaged in one of these, specifically on the Citrix and VMware, there's a good chance I was involved in that. But essentially, we will come in, look at your environment, and provide a detailed deliverable out of that, listing out strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Follow up with us after the session if you're interested. We'll have our contact information up at the end of this slide deck. My name is Randy Price. I'm going to be one of your hosts today. I live outside Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been in the industry for 20+ years in the end user compute space. I've been with XenTegra for over 4 years. Like I mentioned earlier, if you've taken part in one of our complimentary or micro assessments, there's a good chance I worked with you on that. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to NComputing, guys, so we can go ahead and get right into this overview of endpoint solutions.
Thanks, Randy. Hi, my name is Richard Sa. I'm the CTO of NComputing. I've been with the company for about 7 years now. I manage all the product portfolio, manage a group of developers, oversees the strategic alliance, and it's my pleasure to be here today. On the call, we also have my colleague, Spencer Simon, who is the National Sales Manager for US and Canada. So we're here to tell you a little bit more about our endpoint solution from NComputing. So the company has been around for about 19 years. We have a very simple and singular focus, which is providing the best possible endpoint solution for different desktop virtualization platform. And we have been selling across many different regions. In fact, over about 100 different countries. We have shipped about 5 million devices. We have our own group of developers developing our homegrown software solution. In some cases, we make our own hardware solution. Now, it's a very interesting and yet challenging time for IT admin across different organizations. So for the ongoing global chip shortages, right? So the lead time for new PC laptop is still several months out. The pricing is increasing. And working from home is here to stay. 2 years into pandemic, working from home or hybrid work model are become a permanent strategy for many companies. So how does IT admin manage those devices to provide a secure computing environment? We have also seen acceleration of desktop as a service proliferation, rather than shifting, rather than maintaining on-premise infrastructure. Many companies are looking at shifting their CapEx into OpEx type of expenditure by looking at cloud services where they can increase the workload on demand. They can provide a better
Richard, I think we lost you.
Let me stop my video. Maybe this will help. Okay. So a lot of this ongoing trends are driving, accelerating the adoption of the cloud desktop solution or the future of work. And there are many different aspects that the company need to consider. How do you migrate the storage and computing into the cloud to mobilize the workforces? Desktop virtualization is actually becoming, going from a niche market to going to a mainstream. It is actually the core foundation to make this possible. And how does NComputing help accelerate the adoption into this future work? We have LeafOS software endpoint solution, which can be used to repurpose old PC laptop to extend its useful life and turn that into a high performance, AVD or Citrix endpoint solution. For companies that want to purchase new hardware, PC laptop, rather than purchasing expensive PC laptop with long lead time, we have this highly optimized alternative solution to the x86-64 thin clients, highly optimized for Citrix, Citrix Cloud or Citrix storefront with on-premise deployment, or for the Microsoft for Azure AVD. The solution that we have delivered has been deployed across many organizations, going from finance, where workers are using productivity tool, to healthcare. This could be carts on wheel, could be nursing patient office, to manufacturing facility where there are many different kiosk computers in a centralized way to manage those devices, to government. In fact, we recently convert an entire city government going to AVD because they have some security requirement as they had some security breaches before. So there's a lot of adoption from the government into the cloud. Retail, also, across 200, 300 different retail stores, how does the IT admin centrally deploy, manage those devices? BPO, these are call centers, business processing centers. They have a lot of employee coming and go. So how do you manage those attritions? How do you deploy employees or agents working from home? Education, these are the segment that require very affordable desktop computing devices for labs, classrooms. Also, some schools are moving to BYOD. Okay. So these are some the differentiations that we believe we bring to the market. Why NComputing, our solution is highly optimized for Microsoft desktop virtualization. So this includes the Azure Virtual Desktop AVD, Windows 365, Cloud PC, remote desktop services. We also are fully integrated with Citrix. So Citrix Ready certified. Last year, we formed a strategic alliance with iGel, where we leveraged their iGel OS embedded into a Raspberry Pi platform for the Citrix market. And we will talk a little bit more about that. Our philosophy is simple, powerful, affordable. So simple to deploy, powerful in terms of optimization, in terms of peripheral compatibilities, and affordable. So we have cost-effective Raspberry Pi thin client that are highly optimized as a viable alternative to the x86 PC laptop or thin client. All the solutions we provide are very small form factor, centrally managed, and very easy to deploy. Underneath the software for the endpoint, they are all based on Linux endpoint solution, minimally sized, read-only. So this really minimizes the attack surface for malware, virus, and so forth. And it is fully locked down and it can be centrally managed. So we believe this approach is a lot more secure compared to the traditional PC and laptop. Total cost of ownership is basically what it matters to the end users. So initial acquisition costs, whether it's extending the useful life of aging PC and laptop. For example, if you want to migrate to Windows 11, there's some hardware platform are not capable of supporting the secure boot, so you must upgrade. But leveraging the LeafOS software endpoint solution, you can reuse it, migrate to Windows 11. You can extend the useful life. If you really need to purchase a new hardware, we have the affordable alternative based on the Raspberry Pi thin client. We call the RX series thin client, highly optimized for Citrix and AVD. The second part, so that's the initial acquisition. The second part is the centralized management. So the device is fully locked down. It can be centralized managed, either based on the IGEL UMS for the Citrix platform, or based on the NComputing's PMC endpoint solution. This is how we break down our solution based on the different vertical market. On the right, you see the large enterprise market. This is where we see Citrix, lots of customization, a lot of control capability. We partner with IGEL, and they have one of the best, the enterprise endpoint solution out there with lots of customization capabilities, lots of integration with different vendors. We believe this is the best solution out there for the Citrix market. We port our platform based on IGEL OS. We focus on manufacturing, healthcare, finance. Good. On the left, the blue device, this is what we target for small, medium enterprise and small, medium businesses. The focus here is deep optimization with Microsoft Desktop Virtualization solution. So this includes AVD solution, Windows 365, and remote desktop services. There are two parts to this solution. One is a software endpoint we call LeafOS. You can repurpose aging PC laptop into a highly optimized endpoint, fully locked down, centralized, managed. Or if you need a new hardware, we have our RX thin client with NComputing software stacks. The vertical market focus is SMB, higher education, government, retail, and BPO. And we believe these are a pretty distinctive market, and we have a two different approach. From the solution architecture standpoint, this is what it looks like. For the Citrix deployment, so whether it's on-prem or Citrix Cloud, delivering virtual apps, virtual desktops. So we have the IGEL based thin client based on IGEL OS. So you can reuse your IGEL device license, reassign to this device, and you can plug and play. It will interoperate with the existing unified management UMS device management solution. With the Microsoft solution, so AVD, Cloud PC, Microsoft RDS, we have LeafOS solution. This can be repurposing aging devices. Secure computing environment without touching the underlying OS. Alternatively, they can purchase new hardware, and everything can be managed and controlled by the PMC Endpoint Manager. Okay, so the architecture is very similar, but we have two completely different software stacks tailored for different markets.
Richard, quick question. The LeafOS, if the bootable USB, if a customer is using a laptop, let's say that laptop's been infected by malware or what have you, booting off this device, it would not be susceptible to that, correct? It's a read-only sort of solution. where
Correct.
it's not
Yeah,
used generally.
it's a complete lockdown Linux environment. So either you can boot to the pen drive. So during the boot process, you will boot, to the kernel, and everything is encapsulated in a container, secure container. Or you can re-image the device. If the admin doesn't want to, do patch management for Windows, 7 or Windows 10 is running very slow, they can repurposing into a high performance AVD endpoint.
And it also provides, I guess, security from a sense of, if I've got contractors or maybe a consultant working, or home user or whatever it may be, right? They could use this and ensure that they're connecting from a secure client, endpoint solution into that environment versus using potentially a laptop or something of that nature that's been infected with malware, or not having any worries as far as bringing that into the environment. Correct?
Correct. Yes. So based on the bootable pen drive, it prevents corporate data leakage. You cannot screen copy. We can lock down the peripheral devices. Everything is self-contained. Once you log off the session, everything's wiped. So it's a secure kiosk computer. And everything can be managed remotely, even the USB pen drive. That's a really cool thing about it. So the admin doesn't have to worry about patch management. They can remotely configure, pushing profiles, and so forth. So this is the Citrix platform based on Agile solution. I will dive into detail. And we have collaborated with Agile for over a year to optimize Agile OS on the Raspberry Pi 4 platform. And so a lot of benefits with Agile OS are directly applicable to this RX thin client. And this device can be managed by the Agile UMS. Just diving into a little bit more detail, we believe this is one of the best Raspberry Pi 4 solution for Citrix. The benefit here is for customers who are familiar with Agile device management solution. This is plug and play, and this is the best price performance, category within the Agile portfolio. The focus here is really on Citrix. So we integrate Citrix Workspace app. There's also unique functionality. It's called Citrix Workspace Hub. I will explain in a little bit more detail, plus the Chromium browser. And it's very small form factor. So NComputing, in this case, we focus on the hardware, and Agile, they focus on the software. So with combination of support, logistics, and also the software stack, we believe this is a very competitive and affordable solution for the enterprise market.
Hey, Richard, we just had a quick question. Someone had asked, can you use this device without the management server?
Yes, you can deploy this without the management server, but for a large enterprise, the centrally management is one of the key differentiation and use case. But definitely, you can use it without the device management tool. Running Citrix on Raspberry Pi is not new. In fact, we're first to market with a Raspberry Pi solution. This is the second generation based on Citrix Ready integration. We have deployment across many different verticals based on this Raspberry Pi approach. So going from healthcare all the way to retail and services. I think the attractive point is the solution is deeply optimized for Citrix to provide the best possible performance. And it's very cost effective, coupled with device management, and also a very well-designed hardware. Many and large enterprise company, they believe this is a viable alternative approach to complement their existing PC, laptop, or rather than purchasing the expensive x86 client, they purchase the Raspberry Pi thin client. These are the technical specs. Without getting into much detail, this has integrated Wi-Fi, gigabit Ethernet connection, 4 USB ports, dual display, 4K capable. NComputing, we actually did a lot of work to commercially made Raspberry Pi platform enterprise-ready solution. So not only from we actually have some internal hardware, for example, the integrated power buttons, the proprietary thermal cooling solutions, casing tint lock, just make it really easy for customer to deploy. It's a FCCC certified for worldwide deployment. Specifically related to the Agile OS for the RX 420 thin client, the integration point with Citrix include the Workspace app for virtual apps and desktop delivery. Workspace Hub, it's a unique feature only available on the Raspberry Pi from Citrix. So there's a concept of screencasting, meaning you can remotely display your laptop or your mobile device running Citrix receiver, cast the screen onto this device. So some potential use case could be in the conference room where you have PC laptop, rather than physically connecting the cable, projecting, you can remotely connect to this thin client and project onto the big screen. So that's called the Workspace Hub feature. Agile has also deeply integrated the Citrix receiver to support the hardware rendering support. So if you have 3D rendering on this tiny little device, you can render up to 60 frames per second. So it's pretty impressive. We have online videos you can check out to show how you can render 3D application on the fly, dual screen. So it's pretty impressive. Building Chromium browsers, so some use case may require just a purely SaaS application without Citrix, and so this provides the flexibility. Native dual display. The only thing that that is not available on this platform is the Teams optimization, where the traffic for video and audio still have to go through the session. This is something on Citrix roadmap. If you need the support, we would encourage you to contact Citrix directly on getting Citrix on the Teams optimization for the Raspberry Pi platform. Okay. We also have done a lot of work to make sure the peripheral devices are supported. So mouse, keyboard, smart card readers, webcam, headset, and so forth.
Richard, we had one other question. Wanted to ask, do you have any devices that are PCI compliant?
What kind of compliant?
PCI.
PCI compliant.
Yeah, I guess from a security regulation standpoint, which, I'm assuming, and again, this is an assumption, but the fact that you guys, some of these devices are locked down, right? From a read-only perspective, from a security perspective, you guys have the capability from logging and being able to set up, like you said, profiles and so forth to really configure, or policies to configure the device on things like printing and what the end user can do.
Yeah, so the concept of Windows platform versus a Linux platform are quite different. In the Linux platform, this is a stripped down, locked down, read-only platform. So the possibility of injecting virus malware is minimum to none. So a lot of, for example, I think PCI compliance may be subject to the Windows platform, but I have not heard of this requirement on Linux. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's the benefit of using Linux, is even on PC laptop, if you boot to that, boot to LeafOS or repurpose with LeafOS, we turn that into a Linux platform. And based on that, the attack surface become minimum. We don't store anything on the device, except maybe in a few device profile configuration information. There's no user data. So a lot of security requirements are not subject to the Linux approach. So continue with the management. So on the right, you can plug and play into the existing Agile UMS, whether it's on-premise or if you have working from home solution, you can deploy Agile Cloud Gateway to essentially manage the devices. Okay, this is the Citrix platform. Now moving on to the SME solution where we focus on the Microsoft ecosystem. So AVD, Windows 365, remote desktop services. And again, you have remote apps, remote desktop delivery onto different endpoints. We have two different approach. One is a software endpoint where you can extend the useful life of PC laptop, with a LeafOS solution. Or BYOD by creating a bootable pen drive, and you can boot from that. Separately, the thin client based on Raspberry Pi, you can easily deploy for the working from home users or even the on-premise. Everything can be remotely managed by the PMC Endpoint Manager. So the concept is very similar, but it's based on a different software stack. And you can imagine what it looks like. So you may have a device working from home using a bootable pen drive, or you have some old devices in the corporation. You don't want to upgrade to migrate to Windows 11. You can leverage existing device and run Windows 11 in the cloud. You can deploy a new thin client, very affordable thin client. Or if you have an old HP, Dell laptop and auto contract, you can repurpose that, into a highly optimized AVD endpoint. And again, everything is centrally managed, making the deployment really easy. Just a little bit deeper into LeafOS. When do people need to use LeafOS? So they have a PC laptop. Admins, sometimes they have to patch management. Some of them still on Windows 7. Some of them are Windows 10. They want to migrate to Windows 11, but doesn't have the hardware requirement. So, so they want to basically re-image those into high performance AVD endpoint. Or they have BYOD initiative where, employees or contractors, they have their own PC they bring to work, they bring it back home, and some of them may quit the company, left the job. So you need to have a way to remotely lock down the device, remotely retract to block future access. Those are all valid and useful cases where LeafOS can provide. It is a lockdown Linux endpoint solution with a focus on Microsoft desktop virtualization. And so as I mentioned, it's minimally sized. So you can basically use a USB pen drive, maybe 4 GB or 8 GB, flash onto LeafOS and boot to that. And instantly, you will convert into a secure computing environment without touching the underlying OS. And this is ideal for BYOD or working from home. We have done, recently we have done a case where we repurpose an entire city government into AVD endpoint using their old HP and Dell laptop. The challenge they had was they have some security breach with virus infection on some local PC laptop. So they have the mandate to migrate to Microsoft AVD, and rather than using the Windows app installed on those devices, they still have to manage those PC laptop. So they fully convert them into AVD lockdown endpoint centrally managed, and the performance actually got better. They are also able to run Windows 11 on some devices that are 7, 8 years old. So that was pretty awesome. We also have the ability to embed local applications. So we have browsers, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, the user can also add additional local application to complement the desktop virtualization environment. And everything can be managed by PMC. This is a deeper view of our RX 420 endpoint. We call RDP endpoint, target for Microsoft ecosystem. Very similarly spec compared to the iGel, except the difference is focused on the different software stack. So AVD, Windows 365, Microsoft RDS, NComputing. We have our own desktop virtualization solutions for the education market. Also the local Chromium browser. Again, everything can be managed by the PMC Endpoint Manager. This is an overview of Endpoint Manager. Essentially, it's a Linux appliance which can be installed on the cloud. So for example, you can find it on Azure Marketplace. With few clicks, you can deploy it on the cloud, or you can deploy it on premise. And it provides browser-based device management for admins, whether it's local or working from home through the public network. The cool part about it is it provides a zero-touch onboarding process. So when you deploy for the very first time, just plug in the Ethernet connection, Wi-Fi connection, the device can automatically be connected to the PSC endpoint, and all the device-related provisioning can be pushed out automatically. So the user does not need to do anything, and it can be remotely configured. So some of the cool feature, device profiling, you can push the devices profile to devices, thousands at a time. You can remotely shadow if you want to do administration or debugging with your user live. You can do schedule firmware update. You can even run, local network diagnostic testing. A lot of logging for the auditing purposes, and you can deploy in hours, not weeks. So this really helped streamline the deployment and also the ongoing management of the devices. Okay. So in summary, NComputing provides a simple, powerful, and affordable solution. And we spend a lot of time optimize for the Citrix and Microsoft desktop virtualization solutions. And LeafOS provides a flexible software endpoint solutions, whether it is repurposing old PC laptop to expand its useful life, or enabling BYOD by simply boot to a pen drive. Instantly, it provides a high performance and secure computing environment, address many of the use cases, whether it's working from home, hybrid, workforce model, or on premise. For new hardware, our RX thin client powered by Raspberry Pi 4 provides an affordable alternative to the x86 endpoint solutions. And all the solutions can be easily and securely managed and deliver the necessary management and also scale from small to large deployment. So that's the overview. So I will turn this over to Randy.
Yeah, Richard had one other question. The RX 420, is there a specific use case that's geared towards, or specific use cases that maybe it's not a great fit for, right? Can you speak to that? I know you mentioned earlier at this point it doesn't support Teams, but or from an offloading optimization standpoint. But what sort of use cases do you guys see these used for?
Yeah, so I have a slide that talk about the deployment that we have done.
Mm-hmm.
Just give me a second here. For the Citrix solution based on Raspberry Pi manufacturing facilities, they use the solution where they see the need to centrally manage devices that are located in a hard to reach location. Okay. Healthcare, so in the back office, in the kiosk display, those are the area that we have seen deployment. And financial services, so these are just the back office, the general productivity tool. Where the use case is not for everyone. So for example, if somebody heavily relies on the Teams video conferencing, then this device, the video traffic still need to go through the Citrix session. This is something that we are hoping Citrix can provide support in the near future roadmap enhancement. But besides that, I think this is a pretty versatile tool to enabling different use cases. Regarding the SME solution using RX RDP, we actually have seen a lot of deployment across multiple areas. Teams optimization, this is something Microsoft, they will be working on for AVD. So once they have it, we will incorporate that into the device. LeafOS, this is the software endpoint solution for x86. The AVD Teams optimization, it's also on the Microsoft roadmap. But in the meantime, for example, customer can run Teams, local Teams, Zoom, for example, application running side by side with the desktop virtualization to provide the offload. So these are the different use cases that we have seen, and we recognize Teams optimization is very important across the different platforms. So we are working with Citrix and Microsoft to enable those once they are ready on those platforms.
I appreciate that. Appreciate that. I mean, you guys have a great story, right? I mean, looking, when a customer is looking for a low-cost endpoint solution, the RX420 definitely fits the bill for a lot of cases, right? Unless, like you stated, there's a requirement on Teams or something of that nature. At this point, I have an RX420 myself that I am using. Works great. Great experience accessing. I use it for accessing our Citrix environment. It works fantastic, right? It's just a low-profile, secure endpoint. So, like I said, you guys definitely have a great story there. Any other questions? If you guys have any other questions, definitely drop it into the chat. I know that definitely appreciate the overview, Richard, of the solutions that you guys provide, specifically around the, I know we kind of touched on the LeafOS and the RX420. Like I said, being able to have a Raspberry Pi from a cost perspective as well as performance, and being able to connect that to our Citrix environment is definitely a benefit. I did have one question come in. So you guys support Microsoft AVD and Citrix. Is there plans for VMware?
VMware for us is not on the horizon. We mostly focus on Citrix and Microsoft. And the goal is to go really deep into the optimization to provide the best possible endpoint for those two vertical markets.
Got it. Any other questions? So we are going to be giving away two RX420s. While we're waiting on Claire, I do want to bring up again, make sure you go register for that Ford Bronco if you haven't already. Like I said, we're going to be giving that away in May. So if any of you guys joined late and didn't hear that spiel at the beginning, we are giving away a Hunter Green Ford Bronco 2022. It is sitting in our warehouse ready to go. I believe we are set to give that away sometime in May, I think is the plan. Go out, make sure you register. There's several things you can do to get entered in this drawing, but you definitely want to get entered so you can hopefully drive away with a 2022 Ford Bronco. So
perfect. Well, I will take over.
Okay.
Can I just?
I guess we want to mention, right? We want to mention that we are giving away two RX420s, and Richard, are they given the choice? Are you guys given one of each, or they?
Yes, we're given then a choice. So once you're selected, let us know if you would like to have the Citrix product or the Microsoft product. One's orange or red. I'm sorry, yellow or blue. Let us know and we'll ship it to you.
That's awesome.
Perfect. So if you want to, Richard, if you'll let me share my screen, then I'll go ahead and do the drawing.
Sure.
Thank you. Oh, well, I did it. There it goes. All your names were on there. I meant to hit full screen, but there you go. So it looks like the winner is Paul.
You got two, right? You're gonna do.
Yep, that's one.
Okay,
Yep.
Paul.
So let's do
Paul,
one more.
Yeah,
I mean,
Paul, if you want to throw it in the chat and let us know which
Yeah,
one
which
you
one.
want, that would probably be great.
All right. Let's do one more.
You want the RDP or the Citrix version of the RX 420.
Bernard.
And Bernard, same for you, Bernard. Just let us know. We will definitely get those out to you guys.
All right. So guys, yeah, can y'all put that in the chat just real quick so we'll know?
If you guys have any questions, whether from a XenTegra standpoint, you can send us an email at info@xentegra.com. And specifically, if you guys are interested in learning more about NComputing and RX 420, want to have a discussion, definitely reach out. Or any of the other things we talked about at the very beginning, right? If you guys are interested in one of the complimentary micro assessments or any sort of consulting services, definitely reach out. We can help you in that regard. If you guys have anything specific for NComputing, you can reach out to Spencer. His contact information is located there as well. And
yep, Paul, if you want to, you got the email invite from me, just marketing@xentegra.com. You can email me your choice, but do that as soon as possible so we can make sure we get it out to you as soon as possible. Thank you.
Very good. All right. Well, I don't think they've responded yet in the chat. Or Bernard has it, right?
Yeah, I got it. And
I think Bernard wants the Citrix.
Yep, I got Bernard with Citrix and Paul's going to email it to me.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Excellent.
All right.
Good. Well, definitely appreciate the time this afternoon for those who joined, and thank you to the NComputing guys for giving us this presentation. Like I said, they definitely have a great story. If you guys are looking for a endpoint solution, definitely check out the RX 420 and NComputing. They have a great offering. So if you have any other questions, definitely reach out. We appreciate it, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Randy. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thanks to everybody. Have a good day.